Humanity's desperate plea. The Galactic Unity Council chamber, known as the Eternal Nexus, was a breathtaking expanse of shimmering energy and ornate architecture. Its walls pulsed with ethereal lights that reflected the collective knowledge and power of its members. The air was heavy with the authority of civilizations that had endured for millennia. Yet, amidst this grandeur, two humans stood as anomalies. Commander Elena Hart and Specialist Noah Rivera, their presence a testament to humanity's desperate resolve. Elena surveyed the chamber. Beings of every conceivable form filled the space. Levitating orbs of energy, massive reptilian figures cloaked in battle armor, and amorphous blobs communicating through flickering bioluminescence. Each representative embodied the pride of their species. For humanity, this was an uphill battle before it even began. The Supreme Arbiter, Varric, whose crystalline form towered above all others, radiated an air of disdainful patience. Four shimmering orbs of light, its eyes, focused on the humans. Earthlings, Varric intoned, its voice cascading like a symphony of chimes, state your purpose clearly. This council does not convene lightly. Elena took a deep breath, her pulse pounding in her ears. Supreme Arbiter, distinguished members of the Galactic Unity Council. She began, her voice steady despite the oppressive scrutiny. Earth faces an imminent and unprecedented threat. A massive fleet of hostile alien forces is en route to our solar system. Their ships are unlike anything we have ever encountered, armed with weapons that defy our understanding. Our planetary defenses are insufficient to repel such a force. We urgently request the Council's intervention. A murmur swept through the chamber. Whispers, clicks, and guttural sounds of various languages rippled among the gathered delegates. From the corner of the room, a serpentine creature with gleaming scales coiled its elongated body. Its name was Tarnath, a senior member of the Rygalth species. Humans. Sarnath hissed, its voice dripping with condescension. Your species barely crawled out of its atmosphere a century ago. Now you claim to face a threat that even our most advanced fleets cannot comprehend. Perhaps this is merely hyperbole. Noah stepped forward, his calm demeanor hiding a simmering frustration. With all due respect, Counselor Sarnath, this is no exaggeration. We've intercepted transmissions, analyzed energy signatures, and confirmed their trajectory. This fleet will arrive in less than a month. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for survival, for ourselves and perhaps for the galaxy. A being resembling a floating lattice of light emitted a sound like cascading water. This was Kira of the Lumivian Collective. If these invaders are as advanced as you claim, why would they target a relatively insignificant planet? What value does Earth hold? Perhaps they're drawn to our resources, Elena replied sharply. Perhaps it's something else. Does it matter? If Earth falls, what's to stop them from expanding their conquest? Today, it's us. Tomorrow, it could be any of you. The Supreme Arbiter raised a crystalline appendage, silencing the murmurs. Its voice carried a weight of finality. The Council will deliberate. Elena and Noah were escorted from the chamber by glowing constructs, their designs elegant but unnervingly precise. Hours passed in a windowless waiting room, each moment stretching endlessly. Do you think they'll help? Noah asked, breaking the silence. Elena shook her head, her expression grim. They don't care about us. To them, we're a footnote in galactic history. They see Earth as expendable. The chamber doors finally opened, and the humans were summoned back. The atmosphere was palpably different, colder, heavier with finality. Varric's form pulsed with faint luminescence as it spoke. The Galactic Unity Council has reached its decision. We will not intervene. Earth's status as a non-member renders this matter outside our jurisdiction. Your planet's defenses are your responsibility. This meeting is adjourned. Elena's breath caught in her throat. She had prepared for rejection, but hearing it felt like a physical blow. You're condemning us to annihilation, she exclaimed, her voice echoing through the chamber. We're part of this galaxy too. How can you turn your backs on us? Farnath coiled tighter, its emerald eyes glinting. A part of the galaxy, perhaps, but not of consequence. Before Elena could respond, Noah placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "They've made their decision, Commander. Let's go." Their departure from the chamber was marked by the derisive stares and muted laughter of beings who considered humanity beneath their notice. Outside, the glittering expanse of the Council's central hub was no longer awe-inspiring. It was suffocating. As their transport whisked them back to their waiting vessel, Elena turned to Noah, her jaw clenched. "If they won't help us, then we'll do it ourselves." Back on Earth, the news of the Council's rejection was met with despair and outrage. Broadcasts depicted scenes of worldwide panic, families evacuating cities, scientists working frantically in underground bunkers, and military leaders holding emergency meetings. But amidst the chaos, a spark of defiance ignited. Humanity had always thrived in adversity, and this time would be no different. Plans were hastily drawn to rally Earth's meager resources. Scientists redoubled their efforts to reverse engineer captured alien tech, and leaders called for unity in the face of extinction. Elena and Noah returned to Earth as symbols of resistance. They stood before the United Earth Assembly, their voices firm despite the weight of their failure. "They won't help us," Elena said, her voice resolute. "But that doesn't mean we're doomed. Humanity has faced impossible odds before. We adapt. We innovate. We survive. And this time, we'll do it together." A resounding cheer erupted from the assembly, a unified cry of determination that echoed across the globe. As the alien fleet loomed closer, Earth braced itself for the fight of its life. The odds were insurmountable, the stakes higher than ever, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it was truly capable of. Humanity's last stand. The days following the Galactic Unity Council's rejection were marked by a grim but determined urgency on Earth. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists worked around the clock, their minds focused on one impossible goal: survival. Across the planet, factories roared to life, churning out experimental weapons, makeshift defenses, and hastily retrofitted spacecraft. Humanity was entering a war it could not afford to lose. In an underground command bunker beneath the Rockies, Commander Elena Hart stood before a massive holographic display. The image of the incoming alien fleet filled the room, its sheer size and power sending chills through even the most seasoned soldiers. Dr. Adrian Wolf, one of Earth's leading physicists, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "We've analyzed their energy signatures. These ships are powered by some kind of quantum reactive core. Their weapons are beyond anything we've ever seen, capable of reducing entire cities to ash in seconds." Elena's jaw tightened, and our defenses. Adrian hesitated. "Primitive, by comparison. Our best chance is the experimental plasma cannons we've been developing. They're untested, and their range is limited, but it's something." General Marcus Hayes, a grizzled veteran with a steel prosthetic arm, crossed his arms. "What about evacuation? Can we get civilians off-world?" Adrian shook his head. "We don't have the ships or the time. If we lose, there's nowhere to go. Earth is our last stand." The room fell silent, the weight of their reality pressing down on everyone. Finally, Elena spoke, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Then we make our stand here. We fight with everything we have, no matter the odds. If humanity falls, we'll make sure the galaxy remembers how hard we fought." The arrival. Weeks later, the alien fleet arrived. Thousands of massive black ships filled the skies, their angular designs exuding menace. They moved with eerie precision, forming a blockade around the planet. The invaders, identified as the Clyran Dominion, wasted no time. In a coordinated assault, energy beams rained down from the ships, striking major cities around the globe. New York, Beijing, Paris, and Johannesburg were engulfed in explosions, their skylines reduced to rubble in moments. Humanity's air forces scrambled to engage, but their jets were swatted out of the sky like insects. In orbit, Earth's hastily assembled space fleet launched its counterattack. Retrofitted cargo ships and experimental fighters surged toward the enemy, their pilots knowing full well they were outmatched. The first wave of Earth's ships unleashed a barrage of missiles and plasma fire, striking the nearest Clyran vessels. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the attack had worked. Several alien ships wavered, their shields flaring under the onslaught. But then the Clyran countered. Their return fire was devastating. Green energy beams that sliced through Earth's ships as though they were made of paper. In the command bunker, Alina watched the battle unfold on a live feed. Her heart sank as one after another, Earth's ships were obliterated. The Clyran were relentless, their precision and firepower overwhelming. "Commander," General Hayes said grimly, "our fleet won't last much longer. We need to activate the planetary defense grid." Alina nodded. The planetary defense grid was Earth's last line of automated weaponry, a network of orbital cannons and ground-based missile systems designed to repel invaders. It was far from perfect, but it was all they had left. "Activate the grid," she ordered. Around the globe, massive towers erupted from the ground, their surfaces glowing with charged energy. Orbital platforms, once hidden among the debris of old satellites, powered up and began firing. Streams of plasma and high-velocity missiles streaked into the skies, targeting the Clyran fleet. For the first time, the Clyrans seemed to falter. Several of their smaller ships exploded under the relentless barrage. The sight sparked a surge of hope among Earth's defenders. In the chaos of battle, Alina turned to Adrian. "What's the status of Project Nova?" Adrian hesitated. "It's still untested. If we activate it prematurely." "We don't have time for perfect conditions," Alina snapped. "It's now or never." Project Nova. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, Project Nova was humanity's most desperate gamble, a weapon of unimaginable power, built using fragments of alien technology recovered from prior skirmishes. Unlike conventional weapons, it wasn't designed to destroy ships directly. Instead, it was a pulse generator meant to disable all electronics within its range, rendering even the most advanced technology useless. As technicians rushed to prepare the weapon, Adrian monitored the energy buildup nervously. "If this works," he muttered to himself, "we might just have a chance." Back in the command bunker, Alina addressed the scattered remnants of Earth's fleet. "To all remaining pilots and ground forces, this is Commander Hart. Hold the line at all costs. We're deploying a countermeasure that could turn the tide. You are humanity's shield. Do not let them break us." The response was immediate and resolute. Across the globe, soldiers and civilians alike rallied, their determination unshaken despite the overwhelming odds. In the skies above, Earth's fighters engaged in desperate dogfights with Clyran drones, their pilots pushing their ships to the limit. On the ground, resistance fighters ambushed enemy patrols, using guerrilla tactics to slow the Clyran advance. In orbit, the Clyran command ship loomed, its ominous form dwarfing the rest of the fleet. Inside, High Commander Tullera observed the battle with cold precision. Her glowing violet eyes narrowed as reports of unexpected resistance filtered in. "These humans are persistent," she remarked to her second-in-command. "Admirable, but futile. Prepare the orbital annihilation cannon. Let's end this." But before the cannon could fire, a massive energy pulse erupted from the Nevada desert. The turning point. The Nova pulse spread across the battlefield like a shockwave of light. Clyran ships within its radius flickered and died, their systems overwhelmed by the sudden surge. Even the massive command ship went dark, its lights extinguished as it drifted powerless. On Earth, cheers erupted as the tide of battle shifted. Ground forces quickly regrouped, striking at now defenseless Clyran units. In orbit, the surviving human pilots rallied, targeting the immobilized alien ships. In the command bunker, Alina allowed herself a moment of relief. "We've bought ourselves time," she said to Adrian. "Now we need to figure out how to finish this." Adrian nodded. "The Clyran may be down, But they're not out. If we don't capitalize on this moment, they'll recover. Then we don't let them recover, Elena said, her voice resolute. General Hayes, prepare all available forces for a final push. We're taking the fight to them. As the room buzzed with activity, Elena turned her gaze to the skies. Humanity had been underestimated, dismissed as weak and insignificant. Now, in the face of annihilation, they were proving their resilience. The Clyran had brought the battle to Earth, but they would soon learn the price of underestimating humanity's will to survive. Humanity strikes back. The wreckage of Clyran ships drifted in Earth's orbit, a silent testament to the unexpected resilience of humanity. On the ground, resistance fighters rallied under makeshift banners, their hearts burning with renewed hope. The Nova Pulse had turned the tide, but the war was far from over. High Commander Talara and the remnants of her fleet were regrouping, their desperation giving way to cold, calculated fury. Commander Elena Hart stood at the forefront of the command bunker, her sharp gaze fixed on the holographic display of the battlefield. Earth's forces were spread thin, and though the Clyran fleet was temporarily disabled, their forces on the ground remained a formidable threat. We've struck a blow, but the Clyrans are not defeated, Elena announced, addressing the gathered leaders. They're regrouping, and if we give them time, they'll adapt to the Nova Pulse. We need to take the fight to them while we still can. General Hayes leaned forward, his prosthetic hand clenching into a fist. Our forces are stretched to the breaking point, Commander. What are you suggesting? Elena's expression hardened. We launch a coordinated assault on their orbital command ship and their ground operations simultaneously. If we take out Talara and sever their chain of command, the rest of their forces will crumble. The room fell silent. It was a bold plan, bordering on reckless, but it was the kind of audacity that had carried humanity through countless crises. Dr. Adrian Wolfe broke the silence. We've analyzed the remnants of Clyran technology from the disabled ships. If we can infiltrate their systems, we might be able to hijack their communications network and turn it against them. But it's a long shot. Elena nodded. Long shots are all we've got. General Hayes, mobilize the ground forces for a full-scale assault. Dr. Wolfe, get your team ready. We'll infiltrate the command ship while they're distracted. The final push. In the shadow of the Rockies, humanity's last war machines rolled into formation. Tanks retrofitted with plasma cannons, armored troop transports, and squads of resistance fighters prepared for battle. Above them, the remnants of Earth's aerospace fleet soared into the sky, their battered hulls glinting in the sunlight. It was a patchwork army, a desperate amalgamation of old-world ingenuity and hastily reverse-engineered alien technology. Elena stood on the bridge of Resolute, an experimental ship equipped with the last functional Nova Pulse generator. Beside her, Specialist Noah Rivera manned the tactical systems, his fingers flying over the controls. This is it, Noah said, glancing at Elena. No backup, no reinforcements, just us. Elena smirked. Then we'd better make it count. As the Resolute ascended into orbit, it joined a small fleet of human ships tasked with targeting the Clyran command vessel. Below, General Hayes led the ground assault, rallying his troops as they pushed toward Clyran strongholds in the remains of major cities. The infiltration. The Resolute broke through the debris field surrounding the Clyran command ship, its stealth systems masking its approach. The Clyran vessel, a massive obsidian-colored behemoth, loomed ahead like a sleeping predator. Inside, High Commander Talara paced the darkened bridge, her violet eyes glowing faintly. The humans are more resourceful than anticipated, Talara mused aloud, her voice laced with both respect and contempt. But resourcefulness is not enough to save them. Suddenly, alarms blared as the Resolute docked with the command ship's exterior. A boarding party, led by Elena and Noah, breached the airlock. Armed with plasma rifles and experimental disruptor grenades, they moved swiftly through the alien corridors, their boots echoing against the metallic floors. Noah consulted a handheld device. The bridge is 3 levels up. If we can disable their core systems, we can cut off their coordination with ground forces. Elena nodded. Let's move. As they advanced, the team encountered pockets of Clyran resistance. The aliens were as formidable as ever, tall, with sleek gray skin and glowing red eyes. Their weapons emitted bursts of energy that disintegrated anything they struck. But the humans fought with desperation and ingenuity, using their disruptor grenades to create bursts of electromagnetic energy that temporarily disabled the Clyran's advanced weapons. The fighting was fierce, and the casualties mounted, but the team pressed on. They reached the core systems, a massive chamber filled with glowing conduits and pulsating energy nodes. Plant the charges, Elena ordered. We take this ship out. We take their command structure down with it. The ground offensive. On Earth, the ground offensive reached a fever pitch. General Hayes led the charge into the ruins of New York City, where Clyran ground forces had established a command post. The city was a battlefield of twisted metal and crumbling skyscrapers, but the humans fought with unyielding determination. Resistance fighters used guerrilla tactics to ambush Clyran patrols, while Earth's last tanks unleashed salvos of plasma fire. Civilians, armed with improvised weapons, joined the fight, their courage a reminder of humanity's indomitable spirit. Above the battlefield, a squadron of human fighters engaged Clyran drones, using every ounce of skill to outmaneuver the enemy. In one daring maneuver, a pilot named Captain Mira Chen managed to fly her heavily damaged fighter into a Clyran drone carrier, sacrificing herself to disable the vessel. The turning point. Back aboard the Clyran command ship, the charges were set. Elena and her team fought their way back to the airlock, pursued by waves of Clyran soldiers. As they reached the Resolute, Talara herself appeared, her presence commanding and terrifying. You fought well, humans, Talara said, her voice calm but laced with menace. But this ends here. Elena stepped forward, her plasma rifle aimed squarely at the alien commander. It ends when we say it does. The two faced off, a tense standoff as the ship's alarms blared. Finally, Elena fired, forcing Talara to retreat behind a shield of glowing energy. The humans boarded the Resolute, and the ship pulled away just as the charges detonated. The Clyran command ship erupted in a blinding explosion, its destruction visible even from the surface of Earth. The remaining Clyran forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. Humanity's triumph. Cheers erupted across the planet as news of the victory spread. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had struck a decisive blow. On the ground, General Hayes led the final push to reclaim Earth's cities, while in orbit, the remnants of the Clyran fleet flood into the void. Elena stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her expression both triumphant and weary. We did it, Noah said, his voice filled with relief. Elena nodded, but her gaze remained fixed on the stars. We won this battle, she said softly. But the war isn't over. The galaxy knows about us now, and they'll come for us again. We need to be ready. Noah smiled faintly. Then we'll be ready. Humanity had proven its strength, resilience, and ingenuity. The Clyrans had underestimated them, and now the galaxy would remember the price of doing so. A new dawn of resistance. Earth's victory over the Clyrans had come at a staggering cost. Cities lay in ruins, entire nations were reshaped by the scars of war, and humanity's collective psyche had been transformed. Yet, amidst the devastation, a spark of hope burned brighter than ever. Humanity had not only survived, but had struck back against a vastly superior foe. The message was clear. Earth was no longer a backwater planet to be ignored. It was a force to be reckoned with. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's leaders convened at the newly constructed Global Command Center in what had once been Geneva. Commander Elena Hart, General Marcus Hayes, and Dr. Adrian Wolfe stood at the head of a long table, surrounded by political and military representatives from every surviving nation. Holographic maps and data streams floated in the air, detailing the aftermath of the war. We've pushed the Clyrans back, But we all know this is far from over, Elena began, her voice firm. The Clyran Dominion will regroup. And now that the galaxy knows what we're capable of, other factions might see us as a threat, or an opportunity. General Hayes nodded. We can't afford to wait for them to make the next move. We need to rebuild, rearm, and prepare for the next wave. Adrian adjusted his glasses, his expression thoughtful. The Clyran technology we've salvaged gives us an edge, but we need more than just weapons. We need allies. If we're going to survive in the long term, we have to expand beyond Earth. The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement and concern. Humanity had always been insular, focused on its own world. Now, the galaxy had become a battlefield, and Earth had no choice but to step onto the stage. Rebuilding the future. Across the globe, the monumental task of rebuilding began. Factories that had once produced consumer goods were now repurposed for advanced military manufacturing. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly in underground labs, reverse engineering alien technology, and integrating it with human ingenuity. The result was a new generation of spacecraft, weapons, and defensive systems. Among these innovations was the Aegis, Earth's first fully functional interstellar battleship. Sleek, fast, and heavily armed, it represented the pinnacle of humanity's newfound technological prowess. The ship was equipped with a hybrid propulsion system derived from Clyran quantum reactive cores and human-engineered plasma drives. But its most groundbreaking feature was its neural interface system, allowing a crew of trained psychics to merge their abilities with the ship's systems. Elena stood on the bridge of the Aegis as it prepared for its maiden voyage. Beside her was Noah Rivera, now promoted to tactical officer. The ship's interior gleamed with a combination of alien alloys and human engineering, a testament to the resilience and adaptability of Earth's people. This ship is more than a weapon, Elena said, addressing the crew. It's a symbol of what humanity can achieve when we stand together. But make no mistake, this is just the beginning. We're heading into uncharted territory, and we'll need to be ready for whatever we find out there. Contact with the Resistance. As Earth rebuilt its defenses, the Clyrans were not idle. Reports began to trickle in of a Clyran counteroffensive, targeting fringe colonies and weaker civilizations. But with those reports came whispers of resistance. Alien factions that had long suffered under Clyran domination were beginning to rise up, emboldened by humanity's defiance. Elena and her team knew this was an opportunity they couldn't ignore. The Aegis was dispatched to investigate rumors of an alien resistance cell on a desolate moon in the Andromeda sector. The journey marked humanity's first interstellar mission beyond the solar system, a leap into the unknown. The moon, designated Voltus 7, was a barren wasteland of jagged rocks and sulfurous air. As the Aegis descended into the atmosphere, its sensors picked up faint energy signatures. A hidden base. Elena, Noah, and a small team of soldiers disembarked, clad in reinforced exosuits designed for alien environments. They approached the base cautiously, their weapons at the ready. The entrance was concealed beneath layers of rock and camouflaged with advanced cloaking technology. Inside, they were greeted by a coalition of alien species. The Resistance was a ragtag group, their numbers small and their resources scarce. Among them was their leader, Kalen, a tall feline-like being with piercing amber eyes and a voice that carried both wisdom and weariness. "You're the humans," Kalen said, his tone a mixture of disbelief and hope. "The ones who stood against the Clyrans and survived." Elena nodded. "And you're the Resistance. We've heard your message. Earth wants to help, but we'll need to work together if we're going to stand a chance." Kalen's gaze lingered on her for a moment before he extended a clawed hand. "Then let's see if humans are as resourceful as they say. United against the Dominion." The alliance with the Resistance marked a turning point. Together, they shared intelligence, resources, and technology, forming a united front against the Clyran Dominion. Kalen's forces brought knowledge of Clyran tactics and vulnerabilities, while Earth provided weapons and the ingenuity to adapt quickly. Training camps were established on Voltus 7, where humans and aliens trained side by side. The sight of towering reptilian warriors sparring with human soldiers, or crystalline beings teaching humans how to counter Clyran energy weapons, was a symbol of the fragile but growing trust between their species. Noah became a key figure in the alliance, using his tactical expertise to coordinate joint operations. His calm demeanor and quick thinking earned the respect of even the most skeptical aliens. One evening, as the training ground quieted, Alina and Kalen stood overlooking the base. "You've changed the game," Kalen said, his voice thoughtful. "Before you, no one dared to challenge the Clyrans openly. Now, entire worlds are watching. Some are even joining us." Alina's expression was resolute. "Humanity knows what it's like to be underestimated. That's why we fight, to make sure no one has to face what we did." Kalen nodded. "Then let's make sure the galaxy knows what we stand for." The shadow of retaliation. But as their alliance grew, so did the danger. The Clyrans, humiliated by their defeat, were determined to crush the rebellion before it gained more traction. High Commander Talara, now stripped of her fleet but not her ambition, was regrouping in a distant system. Reports indicated that she was amassing a new weapon, something powerful enough to obliterate entire planets. The Resistance knew they couldn't afford to wait. The fight was far from over, and Earth's fragile alliance would soon face its greatest test yet. Alina and her team prepared for the next phase of their mission. The galaxy was vast, filled with both allies and enemies. But one thing was certain: humanity would not back down. The dawn of resistance had begun, and with it, the promise of a galaxy forever changed. The wrath of the Dominion. The galaxy was stirring. On the edges of known space, whispers of rebellion grew louder as more species joined the resistance against the Clyran Dominion. The victories at Earth and Voltus 7 had emboldened the oppressed. Yet, amidst the glimmers of hope, the Dominion loomed like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its wrath. High Commander Talara, humiliated and furious, had retreated to the shadowy sector of Sylar Prime, where she was rumored to be constructing a weapon of unimaginable power. Commander Elena Hart knew the Alliance's newfound momentum would mean nothing if the Clyrans unleashed such a weapon. In the command chamber of the Aegis, she stood with her core team, the holographic projection of Sylar Prime spinning before them. "This isn't just a weapon," Dr. Adrian Wolf explained, pointing to the energy readings they'd intercepted. "It's a planetary annihilator, a super weapon capable of erasing entire worlds. If they finish this, no amount of resistance will stop them." Noah Rivera frowned, his tactical mind racing. "So what's the plan?" "Sneak in and destroy it before they can use it." Alina's eyes narrowed. "Exactly. But we're not going in blind this time. Kalen and his team have secured schematics of the facility. We'll use the element of surprise and strike where it hurts most." General Hayes, patched in from the resistance base on Voltus 7, appeared on the hologram. "This will be the most dangerous mission yet. If you fail." Alina cut him off. "We won't fail." Her voice carried the weight of Earth's resolve, a determination forged in fire and loss. The shadow of Sylar Prime. Sylar Prime was a lifeless, volcanic world shrouded in perpetual ash storms. The Clyran facility, hidden deep within a series of molten ravines, was a fortress of black metal and pulsating energy conduits. As the Aegis dropped out of hyperspace, its stealth systems engaged, the crew prepared for the infiltration. Elena addressed the boarding party, a mix of humans and alien resistance fighters. "We have one chance to destroy this weapon. Our target is the core reactor. If we take it out, we'll cripple their entire operation. Stay focused, stay sharp, and watch each other's backs." Kalen, standing beside her, added, "The Clyrans will not hesitate to kill us, but we've faced them before and lived. We can do it again." As the team boarded dropships, the atmosphere was thick with tension. For many, this was the first time they were heading into the heart of Clyran territory. For Alina, it was another step in a war she refused to lose. infiltration, and chaos. The dropships descended through the turbulent skies, navigating jagged peaks and rivers of molten lava. As they approached the facility, the ship's cloaking systems flickered under the interference of the planet's chaotic electromagnetic fields. "Hold steady," Noah called out from the cockpit, his hands gripping the controls. "We're almost there." The ships landed on a rocky outcrop near the facility's perimeter. The team disembarked, their boots crunching against the charred ground. The air was thick with heat and the faint hum of Clyran machinery. Using the schematics provided by Callan's spies, the team infiltrated through a maintenance tunnel, avoiding patrols and automated sentry drones. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of sleek corridors illuminated by the eerie glow of alien energy. The walls seemed to pulse with life, a constant reminder of the Dominion's advanced technology. As they moved deeper, the team encountered their first resistance. A squad of Clyran soldiers appeared, their glowing red eyes locking onto the intruders. The firefight was brutal. Plasma bolts ricocheted off the walls as the humans and their allies fought with a ferocity born of desperation. "Push forward," Elena shouted, firing her plasma rifle. "We can't afford to get bogged down here." Callan leaped into the fray, his feline reflexes a blur as he dispatched 2 Clyrans with his curved energy blades. "The core chamber is just ahead," he called out. "The heart of the weapon." The team burst into the core chamber, a massive cylindrical space dominated by a glowing energy reactor. Conduits stretched out like veins, feeding the reactor's insatiable hunger for power. At the center of it all stood a Clyran scientist, flanked by heavily armed guards. "Stop them," the scientist barked, his voice sharp and mechanical. Elena's team fanned out, engaging the guards in a chaotic firefight. Explosions rocked the chamber as grenades detonated, sending sparks and debris flying. Noah sprinted toward a console, working quickly to disable the reactor shield. "Cover me," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the noise. Elena and Callan provided cover, their combined firepower holding off the remaining guards. Finally, Noah's fingers flew across the console, and the reactor's shield flickered and disappeared. "Now's our chance," Elena called. She reached for the explosive charges strapped to her belt, handing them to Callan. "Plant these on the conduits. We'll take this whole place down." As the charges were set, the reactor began to emit a high-pitched whine, its energy levels spiking dangerously. Talara's arrival. Before the team could retreat, the chamber doors hissed open, and High Commander Talara entered, flanked by an elite guard. Her violet eyes burned with fury as she surveyed the scene. "You dare bring your filth here," she hissed. "You should have stayed on your pathetic little planet." Elena stepped forward, her rifle aimed at Talara. "We're not afraid of you." Talara smirked. "Then you're more foolish than I thought." The battle that followed was unlike anything the team had faced. Talara moved with inhuman speed, her energy blades a blur as she cut through the resistance fighters. Elena and Callan fought desperately to hold her off, their attacks barely slowing her down. "Get to the ship," Elena shouted to the others. "Now." Noah hesitated but obeyed, leading the remaining team members toward the exit. Callan lunged at Talara, engaging her in a fierce duel that gave Elena enough time to activate the charges remotely. "You can't win, human," Talara sneered, locking blades with Callan. "Your defiance will be your undoing." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Maybe, but we'll make sure you never forget us." She pressed the detonator. Escape and victory. The charges detonated, sending shockwaves through the facility. The reactor imploded in a burst of energy, collapsing the core chamber and setting off a chain reaction that tore through the entire structure. Elena and Callan sprinted through the crumbling corridors, the ground shaking beneath their feet. They'd reached the dropships just as the facility erupted in a blinding explosion. The Aegis swooped in to extract the survivors, its sleek hull reflecting the fiery destruction below. As the ship ascended into orbit, Elena watched the facility collapse into a molten crater. On the bridge, Noah turned to her, his face a mix of exhaustion and relief. "We did it." Elena nodded, her expression resolute. "For now. But this war isn't over. The Clyrans won't stop, and neither will we." As the Aegis jumped to hyperspace, the team knew they had struck a critical blow against the Dominion. But the galaxy was vast, and the fight for freedom had only just begun.